Good morning from Land's End. I'm here to do another Arc Recce and made a deal with Dan that he would drive me all the way to Land's End so that I could do a recce as long as he could do Parkrun. So he's just about to go and do Parkrun and I'm going to go and get my feet sorted out ready for my run from Zennor to Zennor today. Yeah, so you got a minute and a half. Woohoo! Nice one. Go on, Dan.
All on.
Did you have fun?
Yeah, I had a great time.
Didn't try at all, no?
No, not at all. Never. Just took it easy.
So as well as the usual scenery, chit-chat and navigation pointers, I'll take you through some more of my kit and I'll talk you through how I'm planning to eat on the move for this 100-miler coming up, and I'll give you a really brief overview of the most recent ultramarathon I did on the Cornish coast path. So just left Zennor and I'm going to take it quite easy today because I worked quite hard at the Fairy Tale of Newquay last week. The Fairy Tale of Newquay ultramarathon is a 30-mile out and back race along the southwest coast path in Cornwall, organised by Purple Gecko Events. The race starts and finishes in Newquay, so runners head north along the coast to Harlyn Bay where they turn. There is an option to run the long half marathon too, with buses dropping runners off at Harlyn Bay so that they can run back to Newquay from that halfway point. The wind on this race was something else. Fortunately it was an onshore wind as it took me clean off my feet a couple of times. I finished the race a little dazed after battling with the wind in just under 6 hours. I did not know that the skin around your eyes could flap in the wind. I lost my buff because it got ripped clean off my head, and at one point one of my fellow runners had to push me from behind to stop me from flying backwards into him when the wind had got so strong that I couldn't even keep running forwards. So despite the because of the conditions, I think, I had a great time, and it was a really good confidence booster to finish that race in such terrible conditions. I needed to put something like that between the Arc of Attrition and my DNF at the Plague earlier this year. So yeah, this was just what I needed. I suppose you could just go on the beach, but I think this is the actual path. So stay on this little path, don't get tricked into going up those steps. to eat, and decided to decant my food into a little Ziploc bag, because that way I reduce the risk of accidentally littering the countryside with opening separate packets and trying to stuff them in my pack. It reduces the amount of rubbish I've got to try and get rid of at aid stations, all that kind of stuff. And also my fingers don't work very well when I've run a long way because my hands swell up, and if it's combined with them being cold, then they don't function very well at all. So trying to open a packet is a bit of a nightmare, but a little Ziploc I think will do the trick nicely. Yeah, I put a timer on my watch for food because it can be difficult to remember to eat often enough, and I just need a little bit of a reminder, so having that beep at me every 30 minutes is really helpful. Coming into Cape Cornwall now. There looks to be a lovely tide pool down there. I won't be taking a dip today though. So that's one of your crew options, and then just across from the exit to the car park you've got a gap in the wall to follow the coast path up. Hello you two. I'm nearly at Levant, going to meet down here so that I can swap my bottles over and top up my snacks. Hello!
It's my favourite too.
Hello! Hello! So here begins the infamous Pendine section, which I have very little memory of from the Ark. I remember coming across some cows that were asleep on the path that I wanted to travel on, but that's about as much as I can remember. It was that time of night where my body was trying to shut down and I just wasn't really with it. So I've got a new plan, a caffeine strategy. Isn't that beautiful? The reason I think Pendine has got the reputation that it has is because it's so boggy and remote, and I think a lot of it is probably just the time of night. It's really feels a little bit less fun trying to get through all the mud and well, let's face it, it's mostly cow poo, so trying to get through all of that, where especially if you're on your own and you're really tired and it's, I don't know, whatever time in the wee hours, it just makes it a bit difficult. But I think it's pretty lovely up here, bathed in Cornish mizzle. That's why people don't like Pendine, and if only I could get the smell across on camera. One thing I have reflected on is on the Ark I put a lot of energy into trying to avoid the mud. I tried finding the driest lines
and it was futile. And I think you just got to accept that you're going to have to get wet feet, and it's going to be really gross under your toenails, and just get on with it. I think there's just no way you're going to hide from it, so you might as well save energy and just take the easiest line, obviously trying not to go so deep that you get completely stuck in the bog. Cow shit all over my GoPro. It's not particularly cold today, but it's interesting how quickly you cool down when you're moving slowly. So with the mizzle, a bit of wind, and slowing down to a bit of a stumble, it seemed sensible to put my rain jacket on. If I was able to keep moving at the same pace as I was between Zennor and Levant, then I wouldn't have needed it, but it's always better to wrap up, I think, before things start to go downhill. It's difficult to do very much when you're really cold. So. Done that. Elena of 2 or 3 years ago probably would have shed a tear. Yeah. Growth. Oh. Those are actually one of my favourite types of cow. I don't know how I ended up going from being terrified of cows to having a favourite type, but I do think a belted Galloway is particularly lovely. I kind of feel like I need to add a bit of balance into these videos. I know it's difficult with social media and YouTube and stuff, and you kind of see what people post, and inevitably that can be that you see the positive sides all the time, and it's difficult to get your head around the balanced view of it all. I know on my videos I come across super well, I think I do, generally cheerful, because I am. I genuinely am cheerful on these trips, but it's still hard. I'm not trying to pretend that this is some jolly. It's, you know, I train hard and it makes it easier for it to be enjoyable. That's not to say that training hard is going to guarantee you have a lovely time. Certainly won't, but I suppose, what am I trying to say? I'm trying to say that it is hard. You do need to respect the distance with these things. It's not something, in my experience, you can blag, but it is absolutely achievable for mere mortals like myself, and like anyone else that wants to give it a go. annoying thing about it is that I've got so much cow poo on my shoes, and now I've got to try and eat with these. Zennor's about 2 miles away from here. Once you see that house, you know you're 2 miles from Zennor. It's just another bit that I have no recollection of. What a nice surprise! Hiya. You okay? How are you? Hiya. Is that alright if I get past? Oh, you're beautiful. I've got nothing though. Oh dear, I got a bit close to its backside then, and then I all of a sudden remembered that they can kick. I'm such a wimp. I can do a little bit more kit chat, I suppose. My waterproof is a Montane Minimus jacket, so it meets the requirements for waterproofness for the race and for most ultras. I think if it's not absolutely lashing it down and cold at the same time, it'll be fine. But I am considering getting a thicker one for if the weather gets really grim at this point in the race, because I find it a little bit difficult to keep my body temperature stable in those conditions. So I might invest. I do like a bit of Montane kit. I've got their trail gloves, which are really nice, and I attached, hang on, let me show you, some elastic to them so that I can have them around my wrist, and that way if I don't need them, hang on, I don't actually know how I can do this with 2 hands, but basically I can stuff it into my sleeve if I'm wearing a t-shirt. If I'm not, if I'm wearing a buff around my wrist, I can tuck it into that. But it just means that I'm less likely to drop them and lose them on the trail, and being mandatory kit, you don't want to lose that. So apart from it littering the countryside and all, they're kind of useful to keep your hands warm. So yeah, take some time to, if you fancy a bit of sewing. It's a fun little project for an evening. This is when it was starting to get light in the race for me in January, and also where I started having really mild hallucinations. It was nothing compared to what some people experience, but all those, hang on, the little rocks, I kept thinking that they were people. I could have sworn they were moving, and I kept blinking and going, oh no, they're rocks. So I knew I was with it, sort of, you know. But it's funny how even just one night of lack of sleep can play tricks on you, especially if you're tired in a race. I genuinely don't know how parents do it with newborns. It's absolutely incredible. I wouldn't last 5 minutes, I don't think. Oh, there we go. Zennor steps. Zennor steps done. Right, well, that's me pretty much done. I'm going the wrong way, so when you get to the top of Zennor steps you turn left, but I've turned right because I'm finishing my run and I'm going to go meet Dan in the car park. It's quite encouraging. That took me probably an hour and 20 minutes less than it did on the Arc, and that was with stopping a couple of times to do my shoelaces, messing around with the camera, lots of faffing, chatting to people, you name it. So I feel like that if I can get my caffeine strategy right, and if I'm having a good day, I mean, you never know, then that's a place where I could make up some time. I could improve from last year. There are other bits where I don't really feel like I could do it any quicker without really knackering myself out, so that's quite reassuring. I know it's going to be dark and horrible at the time, and I'll have a lot of miles in my legs, but it's not out of the question, I suppose, is what's in my head, which is nice. So we shall see.
As always, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.